Well, thank you so much, Rhiannon, for the opening, the introduction. Thank you for everyone who's set aside some time this morning to be here with us. I think today, this week, is a great celebration. But before I start, I just want to acknowledge the traditional custodians on the land on which we meet, whether it's the Sydney Uni campus, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, or if it's the Darug Nation here where I am in Western Sydney. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. So this morning, I'm going to give, I guess, another overview of the PNG stream, but focusing more on the impacts from the science, the industry, and societal impacts. And just to refresh everyone's minds, this is essentially the core of the PNG crew that we've had over the last 5 years. It's been a huge honor to work with all of them. And we've got these great talks that Rhiannon's arranged this morning. So thank you to Rhiannon and all the speakers. Really appreciate it. So this slide just essentially summarizes the different technologies, the open source technologies that have been applied through the Basin Hub, whether it's the underworld models of whether it's, say, subduction or extension or fold thrust belt uh, fold and thrust belt development from Joe Ibrahim, Luke Marnie, and Patrice Ray. And of course, to the Badlands models that we saw some of those on Tuesday, whether they're continental scale or a very fine scale in the Gulf of Papua, to also the tectonic and geodynamic reconstructions that we've been using. So I think one of the biggest achievements of the hub has been to actually create the software, the open source community software, with lots of documentation, lots of use cases and models and databases, and then also huge success of actually deploying it to case studies. So on Tuesday, I talked a lot about I guess, the scientific projects. Today, I just wanted to really highlight the success of the PNG stream in its impact, because I think the other speakers will really nicely cover the science themselves. So we've talked at a lot of conferences and represented the PNG stream. That's been a lot of fun. But I think one of the great things has been the PNG stream and the entire Basin Hub of mentoring students, honors and postgrad students. And this was the first guest student conference held at Macquarie Uni, and Oil Search were an important sponsor of that conference. And of course, we have Mitch here, Julianne giving talks and really being immersed with the students. The following year, we organized a guest conference at Sydney Uni. That was led by Mandy Thran here in the center, and a lot of volunteers as well. And that was a phenomenal success. We brought lots of students from regional areas. We had academics from lots of the universities around. And again, Oil Search put their money where their mouth is and supported students and were one of the key sponsors. So again, we see here Luke and Julianne. And so I thank Oil Search for really always being committed to supporting students, but also the broader community. And there's just some images. Here's Carmen presenting her work. There's Rhiannon and the fun poster session where we had yeah, nice view over Sydney. In terms of industrial transformation, just to, I guess, summarize from my perspective, I think one of the great things that happened was Oil Search was very interested in reviewing that regional margin scale processes for Papua New Guinea and trying to understand how their wells and their data fit into that. So this TOPS project was a big achievement. Another thing that we did was we embedded the plate reconstructions from G plates into Doug Waple's Nova basin analysis software. So the PNG models and everything is in there. And I've noticed just a broader general discussion of tectonics, mantle flow, sea level paleogeography in industry, in oil search, but in other places as well. And I think it's been great to see the uptake by the industry partners to use the Basin Hub technologies, models, and data. And I think what was quite reassuring was to actually see the former managing director of Oil Search, Peter Botten, when he gave a talk, and he demonstrated a lot of the work of the Basin Hub in this TOPS project. So I think that's a good demonstration that we've made some contributions there. Now, of course, we saw the terrible news out of Papua New Guinea in 2018. A very powerful earthquake, 7.5 magnitude, struck the highlands with 160 deaths. To their credit, Oil Search were the first on the scene with their helicopters and aid. And a few days later, myself, Gilles Brocard, John Connell, and Roman Richer, we wrote a conversation piece. And I think that was quite useful just to get the general broad audience to understand the processes that drive, earthquakes and tectonism in New Guinea. Of course, following up on that, Luke Marnie has done some great work. It's just been published on the earthquake, looking at the INSAR data. So really trying to understand, the functioning and the kinematics of the fold and thrust belt. So at least some good can come out of this earthquake, that hopefully the risk can be mitigated in the future. And I'm not going to dwell on this too much, but I've worked with some documentary makers from the BBC who are looking at birds of paradise, the Wallace's standard wing. And they've created a really nice little segment that you can see here that uses the plate reconstructions. And demonstrates, Halmahera, parts of the Philippine Sea plate have collided with New Guinea, and how that relates to biological evolution. And there's some really funky, imagery of islands colliding. So I think that's a useful thing to communicate also to the broader audience. Okay. And so there's been some offshoot projects. I mean, we've received funding from the Deep Carbon Observatory, my Robinson Fellowship, and then my DECRA is going to be still going to be working on the Australian margins. That includes New Guinea, looking at the carbonate platform evolution over time. So, of course, the AAPG EAGE conference that myself, Luke, and Joe, Ibrahim, and others went to were the last travels before COVID. But there we have it. Hopefully there'll be lots more travels and a lot more conferences to come. So that's all I wanted to say this morning. Thank you, Rhiannon.